The Barstar Podcast, hosted by Stephen O'Reilly, is a podcast about working musicians, their friends, and their opinions. Stephen is a musician in Louisville, Kentucky, who has... Wait a second. This guy's a drummer, not a real musician? Somebody gave a drummer a microphone for his voice? The hell? Unreal. Unbelievable.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Barstar Podcast. I am your host, a one extra stuffy, head cold having Stephen O'Reilly. Don't you pick on me. I ain't even introduced you yet. Don't you start your shit. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody had a good week. You can see how this show's going to go. And I hope you guys all went out and did some shit. And you have already figured out I'm not alone today. I am hanging out with my buddy, a one Mr. Bryan Guess.
Yo.
How are you, sir?
I'm great.
How's life? How's things?
Life is good. I'm glad Christmas is over, so I can actually see how much money I don't have. I'm so over it.
It's the same thing Carl said. Carl said the same thing. He said, man, I'm so glad Christmas is over.
Yeah, Christmas gives you this false sense of security that you can spend more money than you actually have.
Yeah.
And then right as it's over, you realize, I don't have any fucking money. And I still got bills.
But see, then that's where, you know, my lovely wife, Stacy, calls me an asshole, but these are the times of year that comes in handy, because I don't buy anybody shit. So when y'all are broke, I'm still broke. I'm a musician. I don't have any damn money.
Nobody's got money.
But I don't buy shit for Christmas. But no. That's all right though.
Yeah, I like the Grinch. I agree with that guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would fuck up some Christmas households if I could. I really would. Just because I would steal your ham, steal your turkey, steal your tree. It's not a black thing. The stealing is just.
It's a Grinch thing.
It's a Grinch thing. Yeah.
No, I'm in. I agree. You've listened to the show, so you know I'm not going to ask you a bunch of dumbass questions, but I'll ask you a few things. And one thing that I want to know as your friend, how long have you been playing? Because what a lot of people don't know about you, and I'm about to out your ass.
A lot of people don't know who I am. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
More people know who you are than anything. But a lot of people do not have a clue how damn good you are.
Oh, thanks. I don't.
Shut up.
All right.
My show, you can't tell me what to do. So, how long have you been playing? Like, when did you start playing?
I started playing in August of 87. So, roughly.
That's it. Show's over, folks.
Yeah.
He's got a damn steel trap memory. He remembers the month and the year. I quit. I'm done.
Oh, wow. I remember the day I got my first guitar.
Get the fuck. Seriously?
Seriously, dude. I was working for my dad's best friend growing up was an orthodontist. Mm-hmm. And I started working for him when I was like 13 just so I could earn some money.
Right.
And back then, I don't know how they do it now, but they made those little plaster cast of your teeth.
Oh, yeah.
So all I would do every Saturday was I would go down and I would have to trim these up and make them look nice and neat. And he'd hand me $10. And when you're 13, $10 is like you're
100
rich, right?
Yeah, you're loaded.
So I was saving up for a guitar, and I don't know what reason why, but we ended up going to Toys R Us, and I'm looking through this. They had this big glass display case that had all these like electronic gizmos, all kinds of remote control cars, and all like the special electronic toys. And at the very end of the display case was this guitar, and it had a speaker in it. And you could put a 9-volt battery in it. I'm serious. You could put a 9-volt battery in it, and you could play it through this speaker. So I'm sitting there looking at it. And I had been bugging my parents for a guitar anyway, but they didn't think I would play it because I played violin, and I gave that up like in 2 weeks. So
most kids do.
They were like, you're not going to play that. So he bought it. It was $79.95. I still remember the price. It was $79.95. He bought it for me, and I had to pay him back.
Right.
So now instead of trimming up little molds or doing whatever to get a guitar, I had to pay my dad back for the one that I had. And that was when I first started playing. Couldn't do shit on it, but I had a guitar.
You had a guitar.
I had a guitar, so
that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remember that. Yeah. I don't remember when I actually started playing. I don't remember when I got my first rig. I know my first rig was not even mine. I do remember that.
Really?
It was a friend of mine. When I started, I guess you could call it seriously playing, the kid down the street, he had a little tool shed in his backyard that he would put his amp in, and his cousin had a drum set, and he brought his drum set over there and immediately lost interest. So I asked the guy, I said, "Hey man, you care if I play your drums?" He goes, "Oh, I don't give a shit." So that's how I started playing, was him and I in a tool shed. So in fact, one of the chapters in the book is Blacklight Tool Shed, but that's what it's talking about, because I spent probably, I don't know, a couple years in there sweating it out in the summer and freezing my ass off in the winter, but they weren't even my drums.
That's why, because a lot of weird stuff happens in tool sheds across America, but that's a positive story there.
That is. Yeah, except that one thing that one time.
Oh, awful.
So you've been playing since I've started to say since you were 87. This show's off to a fucking blazing start. I can't talk. I can't breathe. It's going to be great. No, so you started playing in 87.
Yes.
When did you? I guess a good way to ask you this, again, as your friend, when was your first show? When did you kind of know, all right, I'm going to do this, and then how did it lead up to your first show?
I'm trying to think of what my first show was. I think I had a band. I didn't form a band till about 5 years after that.
Right.
And there was a place that used to be on, I'm trying to think, it's down by U of L. I think it was on Lee Street or something like that. There's a Hamilton printing there or something like that there. But it used to be a place called the Cardinal Inn. Okay. And me and this band that I had, we weren't that great, but we were going to get to
Were any of our first bands that great?
No, we were horrible, man. I felt bad for my drummer at the time, a guy named Doug Desrusso. He's LMPD now, but
oh, nice.
We would go to his house, and like, he was good. He was the only one of us that was really actually good. I mean, he was a fantastic drummer. And I remember he had this Pearl kit that had a cage around it.
Yep.
And it was this huge. So we thought we looked cool because our drummer has this huge cage. And so I don't even remember how we got booked, but we were playing the show, and there was another band called Teaser, which is funny because Chuck Deering, for everyone who doesn't know, Chuck Deering is another local guy here who's played around for a while.
Chuck's pretty.
Chuck was in Teaser.
Really?
So yeah, this is 92. So
Chuck will eventually be on this show. So now I got dirt. Thank you.
Yes, Chuck was in. Well, Chuck and I had, we were both at U of L at the time.
Right.
And we had a music history class, and he sat in front of me. So back then we had the Walkman headphones that you could.
He told me that one day.
Yes.
Because him and I ran into each other somewhere, and there was which we'll get to shortly, but there was a small rumor that you and I were working on something, and he goes, "Are you working with Bryan Guess?" And I said, "Yeah, how do you know him?" And he said, "Well, we worked together at UPS, but we also did this." And I went, "No shit."
Yeah, years
so I didn't realize when he told me, I was, "Wow, that's pretty cool. You guys have known each other that long."
Yep.
So anyway, carry on.
So, but anyway, his band Teaser and my band, I don't even remember what we were called by. I think it was called Common Ground or something like that. We had so many names. We played that show, and I remember they had like one power strip that was plugged into one outlet in the bar, and that powered everybody's stuff. So you'd walk up to the mic and get zapped, or you'd touch the guitar and get zapped. But that was like our first show.
I've played venues like that.
You're like, but yeah, that was my first show. That was wild. But when I did that, it was like I knew then, okay, this is what I wanted to do.
Right. I kind of had the same thing. I want to say I think I was 19. I had been doing the whole tool shed thing for a couple of years, and then I got in a bunch of bands, and they were all terrible. But I did a show and I talked about this on my very first episode in the Hippie Bar, metal band in the Hippie Bar. Metal band. That is a true story, but as brutal and as shitty as that show was, the next morning I woke up and I went, I got to do that again. I'm ready. Let's go. So I knew before that, but even as shitty as that show was, that cemented it for me. I
think we've all
got to do this.
We've all had shows like that where you're just like, you just don't fit the venue, but you just do it anyway.
Well, and as the longer we've been doing this, at least for me, the longer we've been doing this, I look back on shows like that and go, who the fuck decided that was a good idea?
Well, there was when it's like, man, what the fuck?
Did you agree to that? I mean, it makes no sense.
Well, I think people haven't, they don't really, they think they know what they want. And like, I think they're expecting some type of little coffee house. Oh, you're in a band? Oh, yeah, you got it. And you get up there and you stack amps and, this is a coffee house, right?
Yeah.
There's an old folks home next door.
Yeah, at that time too, and I didn't get into this in the first episode when I told that story, but at the time I had 2 kicks, 3 or 4 rack toms, 2 floor toms. I admit it. I even had some roto toms and way too many damn cymbals. And I'm trying to fit all this shit in the corner of a hippie bar. It was just stupid. But anyway, so you and I met. My date memory is terrible, meaning what year and all that shit. But I want to say it was 2008.
I think that's right.
Because I moved here and I've already covered all this bullshit, but I moved here in February of 2007. So I was here about a year-ish, I feel like, because that's when I met Alex.
I think that's about right.
And you and Alex have been friends forever, and Alex is the one that introduced us.
Right.
Okay. That's right. So we met in 2008, and then that's when I figured out the legend of Bryan Guess.
He showed me that video. He goes, I got a drummer guy. And I was like, okay. He goes, man, check out this video. I was like, he's on YouTube? Like, who did he get? And and I watched it, and I remember calling him back, and I'm like, who? I said, this guy's local? He's like, yeah, man, the guy teaches at Mom's. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was ahead of the YouTube trend, but it never did a damn thing for me, which is kind of sad.
Most people send you like a phone video. It's like, this guy's on YouTube?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I always seem to do that. I'm a day late and a dollar short.
That was a good time, though. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But one of the big things that I want you to talk about, one of the main reasons I had you on my show today, besides the fact that I love your face.
I do make this podcast sexier.
You do.
I do.
I mean, everybody that's come and hung out with me, everybody knows I'm not much to look at. That's why I have so many tattoos. I got to paint the fence. Got to paint that fucking barn, man. That shit needs some work. But I do want you to talk about Planet. And don't giggle. There's a reason, a good reason. Our mutual friend, the late great Kevin McCreary,
yes,
wanted you guys, specifically requested you to put the band back together and play KevFest 2017.
The way I understand it.
Yes, and so knowing Kevin the way that I did, that in itself is awesome because he loves music. He loved music so much. But the other thing is, I had no idea that he was around during all that because Kevin, like me, he's a transplant. He wasn't originally from Louisville. He's from Michigan.
Right.
So for him to even know that you guys existed, when I went back and you and I were talking about it and started thinking about the time frame, I kind of went, well, how the hell would Kevin know that? But that's just Kevin. He knew shit he shouldn't know. I know he's up there laughing. Don't look at me.
I'm not sure how he actually... it might have been through Jeff because I think Kevin came here and he was playing with... oh gosh, what's that cat's name? David Frazier, I think. And David Frazier had a band. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I think
that
Kevin
might have been. Was that Outspoken?
No, I don't think that was Outspoken.
Okay, no,
maybe,
I don't remember.
I don't remember who it is, but he must have met Jeff or something, or maybe he saw us out sometime. And I don't even remember the first time I met him. I just knew that I would bump into him occasionally at places, and he was always he always had something nice to say about me, which I thought was weird because I thought, this guy is awesome, and he's, I love Planet, and you guys, and I think I ran into him at Wix one time. It was a couple of years after we had split up.
Right.
And he was like, you guys got to get back together, man. I love Planet, and I love the way you play, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man.
So go back, because I don't even know.
Sorry.
My friends come to my show to make fun of me.
We'll edit that out.
No, I'm leaving that in there because that was fucking funny. I'm not editing shit. My friends come to my house and hang out with me on my show and make fun of me because I got a head cold.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. And since I have the record button going, you can go fuck yourself. Anyway, when did Planet, like, what's Planet's history, basically?
We were, I had come out of a band that I was playing in with my best friend who was playing bass, and things in our relationship just started to kind of get weird, and I was getting a little more serious about really wanting to play. So Cedric kind of went his way, I went mine, and I happened to be in a doo-wop shop one time, and I saw a flyer on the wall. I would always go and check to see who was doing what. I saw a flyer on the wall, and it said, bass player looking for band,
right.
Wants to play funk, rock, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, that sounds kind of cool. And at the bottom, it was signed, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Yeah, so being a Star Wars fan, that immediately caught my attention. But I ended up calling the number, and it was a guy named Alex Featherstone who plays bass with V-Groove right now.
Okay, I got you.
And he answers the phone, and I go, "Hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi." I said, "Hi, my name is Obi-Wan Kenobi," and we both had a good laugh and hit it off. His mom used to have a computer store right across the river in Jeffersonville, so we would go over there at night, and we would practice.
Right.
And I remember at the time, I had gone through this weird phase where thought I wanted to play bass and try to do something just totally different, just to kind of get out of my comfort zone and make something happen. So I didn't have any guitar gear at all.
Huh.
I borrowed a Fender Strat from him, and I don't even remember what I played through. It might have been something that he had. And we just kind of had a jam session in the computer store. And I had brought along the drummer that I had in my last band, and the three of us kind of formed up, and that was Planet.
Right. What year would that have been?
That was 1997.
Okay.
Yes, 97, because my son was 2 years old.
Okay.
I remember that. And it was going pretty good. I mean, we were. It was nice to kind of have that freedom. I mean, even though Cedric and I, Cedric was a competent musician, but he wasn't naturally a bass player. He was a keyboard player that was playing bass. So even though he was progressing pretty remarkably, he still didn't have the chops that a bass player, not for the stuff that I needed to have done. But Alex could. I mean, Alex is a phenomenal bass player.
Right. Now, he's the one that played with you at KevFest, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, he's the one that played at KevFest.
Yeah, I've seen him. He's good, really good bass player.
Jeff didn't come along until, I think, the end of 98.
Now, we are talking about the one and only Jeff Williams.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, the one and only Jeff Williams. We kind of had some discussion. Unfortunately, we had to let our first drummer go, which was, that sucked. That sucked, man. That really sucked. The reason why it sucked, here's what happened. Alex and I are talking
What had happened was...
Alex and I were talking. Alex and I were having this... So Alex and I are having this phone conversation, and we were all friends, so it wasn't like... I mean, of course, it's business, but
right.
I think at this point, we were all still young enough to where it wasn't business yet. It was still kind of, hey, we're just having some fun.
Right.
And this guy was a friend of mine. His name is Demetrius Mayberry. We called him Meech. And... as a guitar player, I didn't listen to, I'm listening to the snare. As long as I'm on point, I'm not.
Right.
But as a bass player, Alex is listening to a lot of different things, and he wasn't confident in Meech's, footwork. So he convinced me that, man, I think we can blah, 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 get somebody else, and blah, blah, blah. And plus we had done some recording at, now it's gone, but it was Ramcat Studios, and that guy was a drummer that was actually recording us. And he was like, man, your drummer's kind of, sorry, Meech.
Hey, man, it's a story that is unfortunately all too common.
It's one of those things where Alex goes, okay, well, we'll do it tonight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay. I said, what time are you getting there? And he's like, I'm going to be there at, I don't know what time, 8 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get there at 8 o'clock, blah, blah. I pull up at 7:55. No Alex. and here's where it gets fucked up. I look up, and here comes Meech pulling into the parking lot. Still no Alex. I'm like, fuck. He gets out of his car. He opens his door. He's got a car full of drums. I mean, he's got all his. He's got like a Toyota Corolla or something. He's got all this drum
smashed full of drum gear.
So he opens the back door, and I look at him, and I think he's waiting for me to help. And I'm like, I feel so horrible. I've felt horrible about this for years, but I go to close the door. I was like, man,
this is a safe place. Confess it all.
Why don't you kind of wait to get your drums out, man? Close the door. And he was like, I think he knew. I think he may have suspected something was going on for a while, but we had, Alex got there and we had to talk, and, we remained friends. I mean, he was so hurt, and it was a shitty night. But so after that, we got Max Maxwell in the group for a little while, and then we settled on Jeff, and Jeff came in at the perfect time, and I think Max was great, but there was something about Jeff that I think was better for Alex. The two of them, I think, because they had history together, they were closer together. You want your drummer and your bass player to be
absolutely
frog tight. So
yeah.
They got along great, and it freed me up because I didn't have to think about what's going on behind me. I don't have to think about, is the drummer's foot not satisfying the bass player's groove, and I could just play. I could just play and sing. So
no, that makes perfect sense, because when I had Carl on the show, one of the things that we were talking about, and I told him because he had no idea, and I just talked about it at the tool shed. When I started out for probably 4 or 5 years, I did nothing but play with a guitar player. I never played with a bass player.
Right.
So I tend to lean towards the guitar side of things, where most drummers will lean towards the bass side of things, because I'm trying to follow the melody line and stuff. So I get it from a guitar player standpoint. When you don't have to worry about what's going on behind you, it makes your life a million times easier. Right. So I totally get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it made things much more comfortable to play behind, and I think because of that, it's like what we would do something and we'd go, man, that was great. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, let's see if we can do this, and we progressed as a band that way.
Right.
And then things started kind of happening for us, and I think that's when the wheels came off of it.
Right. Well, the only thing I'm going to make you tell me, or actually tell the listeners, because it's one of my favorite stories of yours, is the Motley Crue story.
Okay.
Because how all this came up and why I wanted you to talk about it on the show is because as long as you and I have been friends, I've never heard any of the Planet stuff. And then I finally got to see it at KevFest this past September, or September 17th. I have no idea when this show is going to post. And I was standing next to a bunch of our mutual friends, and we're all going, fuck, that's bad. Y'all need to get back together, like, now. But you had told me this story, the Motley Crue story, several times, and it's one of my favorites. So,
oh, wow.
Go.
Okay, so at the time, I think they were 100.5 the Fox. And they were Motley Crue was having a Kickstart Your Career contest. So what they did was they took a bunch of band submissions. They listened to them. They picked 5 finalists. Those finalists went to a venue. I don't remember the name of the venue. And there was about all the bands, which they told everyone would be graded on crowd response, right?
Right.
So I don't remember all the names of the bands. I know it was us, it was Planet. There was a band called the Enkindles. There was a band called Month of Sundays. I don't remember the other 2 bands. But
That's a great band name.
But there's that gets interesting.
Don't worry, you can come back as many times as you want.
I was told, I don't know if this was true, but someone told me that the venue we were playing at was like their stomping ground. So we get there, we bring 4 people. 3 are in the band. So the other bands, everybody brings some people. They bring like an army.
They meaning Month of
Sundays.
Okay.
There's like 9 trillion people. There's a whole country of China worth of people came to see these folks and crammed into this venue, right? So
a small country showed up with an overpopulation problem.
Yes. So we were like, I think we were 4th on, and it was a whole bunch of. I think we had some words with Enkindles one time. I think we did one of the Harvest showcases. We did one show when there was a guy that was Alex's friend that was kind of one of our big fans. Always came to our shows, and I think he had some words with him. So then we had some words, and I don't even know. The whole thing was it was juvenile, but
wait, musicians acting like juveniles?
Yeah, who'd have thought?
Yeah, never.
We're all so sophisticated.
That's it. Second time, show's over. I'm out.
So we get up there. We do our thing. Last band goes on, does their thing. And we're all kind of standing there waiting for them to announce the winners. And I'll never forget this. Tony Benetti goes up on stage and goes, the winner of the Kickstart Your Career Battle of the Bands, who will be opening up for Motley Crue, I think the show was like that following Wednesday,
right,
is Planet. And we jump for joy. Yeah, slapping, high five, and we're the only ones happy. And everyone looked at us like we had each taken turns screwing their mothers. It was the most hate. So then, and I didn't see any of this happen personally. This is what I was told. A bouncer comes up to me. Total mayhem goes off. People get pissed off. Bouncer comes up to me and goes, we got to get your shit out of here now. They start grabbing my amp. They grab my stuff. They're escorting us out to the car. A fight's going on. People are rowdy. The cops are showing up. I mean, I was like, what the hell is going on? We get back to the car. The guy's helping me get my stuff in the car. And he goes, yeah, some guy was coming at you with a beer bottle. I'm like, what? For winning a contest? Wow. Turns out they had judges in the crowd. So during our set, I'm out there, I'm dancing, I'm singing, I'm dancing with, girlfriends, which probably wasn't a good thing to do. I'm got arms folded and these guys looking at me, and we just put on a show. We just played up to the crowd, and
right.
I think a guy named Eddie Metal, I don't know whatever happened to him, but I think he was one of the judges, right? So we ended up winning. Of course, that following Wednesday or whatever it was, we go and open for Motley Crue. Well, Tony Benetti pulls me out from our, I call it the green room. I think it was a broom closet with some juice boxes. It was nothing compared to their, they have hors d'oeuvres and shit. We have like, the little
high C fruit
punches and goldfish crackers, but still the experience was cool. So Tony's going down to do a promo spot for the radio station, and he's going to offer free tickets to someone who can sing some Motley Crue lyrics or whatever. So he pulls me aside to do this promo with him, and we're off the air, and he goes, man, we have gotten hateful calls at the station every day up until tonight about you guys winning that show.
No shit.
And I was like, people were really pissed that we won that show.
Right.
And it dumbfounded me. Of course, Jim James from My Morning Jacket, that was his band. So we ended up opening for Motley Crue. He ends up getting a record deal and going on tour.
I think things worked out okay.
Yeah, I think he's good with it now. He's probably I haven't seen him or talked to him since that. It would be funny to run into him and see what he remembers from that day. But yeah, that was a wild story.
That is crazy. So you and I played together very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
When we met, because that was how we met, and I have been after you ever since. So you're in a microphone. Tell me no again. Again.
Making it sexier.
All right, fine. We will play together again, sir. All right, so you've listened to the show, so you know that one of the things I do is social media issues. Okay, so on social media issues on this episode, okay, I'm not going to lie. This is the third time in a row I've done it. It's on you, pal. What you got?
I think social media as a whole is an issue. I don't find, and I don't have one particular thing other than social media. It's just, I don't think there's ever been I don't think there's ever been another way invented that makes it so much easier to display your assholeness. That's my thing. I agree. I think if I was going to be, I hate social media. That's a broad spectrum. But I think if I was going to narrow it down, I think the problem with social media is it gives everybody a backbone. Everybody's a keyboard warrior or a phone warrior, whatever it is. It gives everybody a backbone, and that tends to lead to a lot of disrespect.
It's interesting that you say that. And the reason I say that it's interesting, one of my solo shows, I talked about dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
How people air dirty laundry and shit, and then how everybody turns into an asshole towards each other. Then I had my buddy Dave Hoback on here, and we were talking about the very same thing in drumming chat groups and any kind of, I shouldn't say chat groups, just drumming groups that we belong to, forums. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And then my buddy Chris was on the show, and he said kind of the same thing. And then Carl said it, and now you're saying it. Maybe we should just make the whole theme from now on. But I find it interesting that everybody kind of feels the same way.
Yeah.
Because it does get out of control. The thing that Dave and I talked about, and I've said this before, is if you have a problem with somebody, get in that person's face, and I don't mean in a shitty way. Just go, hey, dude.
What the fuck's your problem?
What's the deal?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? And they won't say anything, but same thing, keyboard, typey.
Keyboard.
Yeah. All right, anyway, I took it away from you. I didn't mean to.
No. That's exactly what I was talking about. It just, it opens up. It's just a space where a lot of assholes just seem to congregate. And a lot of people think their point of view or their opinion is either the right point of view or that it's even significant. I don't care what you think about it. I mean, I don't care.
Right.
If I disagree with you, we just won't have a conversation about the subject. I'm not going to try to change your mind on something.
No.
We don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, whether you believe in something that I believe or not, I still got to pay bills.
Right.
Now, if it was different, if I told you, for every person whose opinion I changed, if I got like $100 knocked off my mortgage or off my cell phone bill or something, that'd be different. But I don't get that. So it's not in my best interest to try to do anything about it.
No, I get it. I think somewhere, and I said this before, not even on the show, just in conversations with my friends, people have lost part of how to interact with another human that's in front of their face.
Right.
One of my very, very good friends, our mutual friend, Todd, he is so politically heavy, he makes me want to hang myself because I can't stand politics. You've heard the first episode. Very first disclaimer. I won't talk about politics on this show. But he's still one of my best friends. We can have that difference. You keep that shit over there.
Yeah, keep it over there, and
I'll keep my shit over here, but we're still really good friends. And I find it interesting for me, especially in social media, people will hate each other for something they believe in and just completely write that person off.
Yeah.
I defriended you because you don't like the pictures I post of my dinner.
You know what else I hate? You know what else I hate? Seriously, what I hate? I hate when people put like a vague post out there and they'll go, "Oh, I just hope that I can cope with this." And then you reach out and you go, "Hey man, what's going on? I don't really want to talk about it." What the fuck did you put it out there for? Keep
tension
that shit
whores
in your ass.
Yes.
If you don't want people asking questions,
then don't say some vague shit.
I mean, it's just, the whole thing. And I'll post stuff on there. I'll keep up with friends, or if I have something I think is witty or funny to say that, people might get a laugh out of, I'll post stuff like that. I don't like posting argumentative stuff on there. I mean, occasionally I'll put something on there, but I mean, I just don't like doing that. I think that's just a misuse of great technology.
I agree. I totally agree that it's. I guess the more I'm doing this show and the more because I mean, you and I talk normally away from a microphone, and when we have conversations, we don't get in deep conversations about this stuff. But when you start kind of pulling it out and dealing with it, for me on this side of it, it's interesting that so far everybody I've had in here says the same damn thing.
Yeah.
So it means that not only was I right, no, it means that it's a bigger problem than even I already thought it was, because it annoys the shit out of me. I think everybody, I use everybody as a blanket term, but I think everybody overshares.
Oh, definitely.
I don't give a shit what you're eating. Yeah, I don't fucking care.
And I mean, think about how weird this would be if there was no Facebook. Think of how apeshit you would go if you went to your mailbox and like I had sent you a letter and you open it and it said, "Steve, would you like to play Candy Crush?" Wouldn't that fucking piss you off? Wouldn't that piss you off? I mean,
well, Brian, that candy ain't gonna crush itself.
Do we get any mail? Yeah, something from Steve here. Let's see what's he got. He wants me to come over and play Candy Crush. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Hey, I am gonna write him back with this picture of my meatloaf. Really? Do you really have 250 friends that give a shit about what you're doing? No, not really. I hate that shit. I'm sorry.
No, that's fantastic. No, don't apologize for anything. That's one of the things I love about doing this. I not only do I get to laugh my ass off, I don't even have to do squats or crunches or sit-ups or anything. You fuckers are giving me a six-pack just from laughing. It's awesome. No, apologize for nothing, man. That's why this is... there's many reasons why I wanted to do this show. And one reason is when you have I hate to use the word forum, but that's basically what this is. When you have a forum to talk to your friends about things you don't normally talk about,
right?
It not only does it become more entertaining and interesting, but you still get a little bit of insight on that person. Which, I mean, you and I know each other fairly well. I mean, I don't think anybody on the planet knows everything about their friends.
Right.
It's impossible. I've been with Stacy for years, and I'm sure there's something I don't know. It's just, that's the nature of being a human being. She could have discovered something the other day. She's like, this is really cool, and I don't know about it yet. But I think in a friendship relationship, it's always that way, because when you start pulling out things and you go, well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know you felt that way. Or the other side, like Todd and I, keep that fucking shit over there. I don't want to hear about it. I need you to just leave that alone.
Poor Todd.
Poor Todd. That's it for social media issues. That's going to be my favorite one so far. So let's move.
Hey, it's just...
Wait, where's your phone? I'm going to text you a picture of my oatmeal I was eating when you showed up today.
Oh, look, it's Steven's oatmeal. Brilliant.
So let's move on to stories. I can't even fucking do it. So let's move on to stories from the stage. I fucking love you, dude.
Stories from the stage. Wow.
All right, so what do you got for me?
Well, the first story I'd like to tell.
That's it. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out.
It's a good one for you. No,
does it involve a cowbell?
It's not cowbell. No, this was a really, really, really fucked up but amazing story.
Okay.
Because I think one of the things, and this is kind of weird. It's not a race thing, but it is. One of the things about being a black person and playing the stuff that I play, rock and that type of stuff.
Right.
You don't really expect to get a lot of praise or maybe a lot of acceptance from other black folks. It's just the way it is. Black
right.
people nowadays. At one time, black people, Jimi Hendrix, black people were into that. Funkadelic, that's probably my biggest rock influence was Funkadelic and Kiss.
Right.
So, you put yourself out there and other black folks either like it or they don't.
Right.
That being said, Planet ended up on this show. It was called the Funk Fest. There was another show, I think a week or two earlier, that had 7 Mary 3 on it. Probably would have been better for us to play, but we ended up on the Funk Fest. And that show had Zap, it had Parliament All-Stars, it had Sugar Hill Gang. I think the Bar-Kays were on that show.
So it had the real deal function.
Yeah, real deal function. Nice. And us, who...
And then y'all.
We were like a combination of... we were kind of a combination of Lenny Kravitz meets Soundgarden, I guess, for lack of a better term. Some stuff we had that was somewhat funky.
I can kind of see that, yeah.
But, kind of a King's X, a funky King's X, I guess somebody, had given me that description. But so we're doing this show, and it's like 99.93% black, right? And I was a little nervous about that because I didn't want to, I wasn't sure how I was going to be received because, you've seen me, I got a fishbone tie-dye shirt on and boots, and I've got a Gibson SG strapped around my neck.
Right.
I don't, I'm not playing necessarily the part, right? So,
right.
So we're up there and we're jamming, And we had this medley that we did that was, it was one of our songs called "Whole World Made a Stage." That was kind of a funky thing, and then it went into Herbie Hancock's "Chameleon," I think.
Nice.
Or maybe it was "Superstition" of that. Anyway, we had this medley that we did. It was one of our songs, and it went to
but anything you did with Herbie Hancock, I mean, it's Herbie Hancock.
So we're playing, and I'm trying to gauge how people are receiving it.
Right.
You know, this was probably, it was 2001, so I was this is right before I turned 30. And I'm looking out, and the crowd is probably 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Right.
The group that probably in the 70s and maybe early 70s was listening to a lot of different stuff, you know, the stuff that was going on in black radio at the time. So I'm trying to gauge how these people are going. Well, I look up, and, you know, we're playing Chameleon, and this guy, single guy, hair braided up, he's got a beard. This brother looks at me and starts giving me the thumbs down. He walks up to the front of the stage and stands in front of me, and he's giving me the thumbs down. So I'm looking at him, and I'm like, okay,
that's not brutal at all.
I was like, is he alone in his thinking, or, you know, where is he the consensus, or, you know, where's everybody at? So I just kind of start throwing little jabs at him from the stage to blah, blah, blah. Man, I bet you don't even know what song we're playing, right? Then I start hearing, Herbie Hancock, Chameleon, baby, all this stuff out in the crowd. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're on my side.
Maybe he's the asshole.
Maybe he's the asshole, right? So I start kind of taunting them, and people are like kind of booing and blah, blah, blah. It turns out they're booing him. I step up to the mic and I said, don't worry about it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I said, even if it is wrong like that. And the place went, yeah, clap. All right, I've got these motherfuckers. Now you die. now Skywalker, you will die. It was that thing. So then, as soon as I says that, and this was such a beautiful moment, I actually have a photograph of this as it's happening.
Well, as you're telling me this, I know the story now.
So right as I say that, and everyone starts clapping for us, this cat starts giving me the finger. And I'm like, are you really going to give me the finger? So he stands there with his beer. He's giving me the finger. Right as he did that, we got to a part in the song where I do a guitar solo. I look up. Here come the sheriffs. They're coming down to the front of the stage. The sheriffs grab him, and I lean over in the mic and go, don't take him out yet. I got something for his ass. I stepped on distortion pedal, leaned my nuts down in his face, went into this blistering solo, and that place exploded. So there's a picture of me. I'm leaning down. I'm sitting there playing, and Alex is leaning there playing, and he's giving me the finger. And it was like, it was an awesome moment. I'm like, fuck cool, man. So then afterwards, we get off stage, and I think the news came and talked to us or something like that. And one of the guys from Parliament comes up. Man, you guys are a trip, man. They can't believe y'all staged some shit like that, man. Where's your buddy at? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, the guy, man. You all came down, had that dude. I said, I don't know who that dude is. You don't? No. That guy was real? I said, yeah. And his buddy goes, I told you, give me my money, motherfucker. Like, but that was like a really wow moment. I was like, you know, because you're nervous because you're like, okay, I don't know if he's, you know, if he's speaking for everybody, or is he, you know, and he's right. Is he on his own? It turns out, you know, people.
That's awesome. You never told me that part about the side bet.
Yeah,
Parliament. That's cool.
That was fun. Man, give me my money.
I told you.
Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, that's probably one of the most memorable things.
Nice. Some shows I try to match stage for stage story. I'm not doing that. Nope. You win. You put your nutsack in somebody's face. You had a dude escorted out. Parliament not only thought you were the shit, but they had a side bet against you, or for you in your favor. Actually,
right. They thought it was staged.
Yeah, they thought it was staged, and you were on the news. I got nothing. Fuck you. All right, so let's move on to what are you listening to?
What am I listening to?
Yeah, I'm leaving this one up to you too. I'm just being lazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Right now I'm listening to a lot of old. I tend to listen to a lot of old stuff anyway, but I've been listening to a lot of just like old soul stuff. Some Bobby Bland, Little Milton, Freddie King, old blues and soul type stuff.
So 1 out of 2 of them ain't bad. Junior, 1 out of 3.
Junior Parker, Joe Tex.
And what I mean by that is I have no idea who 2 of those people were.
Just a lot.
I knew one of them.
A lot of old 60s soul and blues. Listen to some psychedelic funk stuff.
Now, and I'm asking this for my own curiosity. Why did you decide to go back that far?
I liked where we were with Planet. I mean, I liked what we were doing at that time.
Right.
But that was a different mindset, obviously. I wanted to do something that was more, that was a little bit more intimate.
Right.
And it's more, it's not just about, inspiration from the song, arrangement or anything like that, but also just as far as sonically. Right. How does a guitar sound, how over the top should my guitar sound? Because now I used to play with a lot of heavy distortion. I don't do that anymore. I have an amp that I built myself. It's 18-watt tube amp. I just use the grit out of that, and I run a fuzz pedal and control my, clean or dirty with my guitar volume. So
gotcha.
It's very, I guess retro is how you would sound it. So it makes more sense for me to listen to stuff that kind of fits into a little bit better. And
that makes perfect sense. I mean, one of the things about the what are you listening to section that I dig is kind of gauging where my friends are, and even my musician friends that I play with regularly, and some people that I just hang out with, because I'm so far across the map, it's not even funny. I mean, you know that as my friend. One of the episodes I talked about a record from Tori Amos from 1991 that I still listen to. I love that record. So it's cool to see not only what you're listening to, but why you're going back to that. So that's, especially with you knowing the way you are, that's really cool.
It's kind of a weird, like I look for different things, and what I'm looking for determines what I listen to. Right. Like I have a Pandora channel on my phone. It's called Thievery Corporation, and it's a lot of, I heard it in a Thai restaurant. I was like, what are you playing? But it's more of an ambient, electronica type stuff that, I listen to kind of mellow out. A lot of times if I'm listening for a particular melody or a particular chord movement, I'll listen to something else. Right. But that's, kind of what I'm looking for at the time is where I end up gravitating to.
No, that's cool. And with you and knowing the way that you play, that makes perfect sense. So when are we playing?
Dude, I'm writing.
You're on the spot, bitch. Answer me now.
I am writing. I really am trying to write. I'm just trying to get. I'm probably overthinking it, because I have this thing where I don't want to be Planet again, and it's not a knock on Planet. It's just
you've been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, I don't want to. As much as I loved Heaven Hill, and everybody that knows me knows that's the band that brought me up here. Yeah. I don't want to be in another Heaven Hill. Unfortunately, it's over, and it's not a knock. But I don't want to do that band again. I want to do something else.
And that's one of the things that was important to me in the Keb Fest, because I really wouldn't have. Planet was I probably was instrumental in fucking that band up. Because, well, I mean, it was I guess you can edit this and we can go back and add it to the previous section, but we got to the point where things were starting to happen. We had done the Motley Crue thing. We were starting to, play a little bit more around town. We were starting to kind of get a name out there. And then we went to Nashville. We did a demo, and it was time to shop. And then the guy came from LA, and we did a showcase. And it was all about trying to get signed at this point. And I think Alex and I were the most vocal. Jeff was always kind of on the fence. Right. I think Jeff just, Jeff didn't want me upset. Jeff didn't want Alex upset. So he never really had much of an opinion. He would kind of give both of us, whatever we were thinking. He would maybe play devil's advocate, or he would try to get both of us to see things the other one's way. But at that time, I was writing some really, really heavy stuff. Part of that was because of what I was listening to, and part of it was just because that's how I felt at the time. Had a lot of frustration, a lot of anger.
Right.
I think Alex and I both wanted the same thing, but the way we wanted to go about getting it was different. So we started to butt heads to the point where, like when we did that show, the moment when that guy is giving us the finger, that was the first time we had actually come together on that show. We didn't talk to each other when we got to that show. We stayed away from each other. We just weren't having a good time. And, part of it was me kind of, I was tired of playing those songs. We got together in 97, and by now it's 2000, 2001. And for me, I wanted to kind of go and let's see what else this band can do, because I knew this band was great. I didn't want to write the same stuff anymore. I just kind of wanted to do something different. I had different goals about where I thought we should go, who we should be with. Alex had his opinions on what we should do, how we should go about it.
Right.
And it just clashed. And there was a lot of silly stuff like, well, I wrote this part, so I don't want you to make this much money. Arguing over money that nobody's
that's
even made
usually
yet,
the
and it's that was shitty. So it was just one of those things where he wasn't necessarily wrong, I wasn't necessarily wrong, but we just couldn't. It stopped being fun for me at that point. It just was like, it felt like, when we first set foot in that computer store and jammed, it was like there was none of that. We're just some guys playing, and now I felt this pressure. I was writing most of the songs, so there was kind of pressure on me to come up with, when you sign a deal, you can't do necessarily what you want. You have to. No. You have to. And I'd actually talked to Vernon Reed, Living Colors guitar player. I had to, fortunately got to meet him a few years earlier. And at this time I would call him and ask him stuff, and he told me something that I thought was like, wow. He goes, why do you want to get a record deal? And I said, I kind of want to do, the same thing you're doing. And he kind of laughed it off, and he's like, dude, I've seen people, you spend your entire life writing your first album. He said, and it's great. He said, but then you have 6 months to write your second one. He said, and I've seen guys just crumble under that kind of pressure. And he said, you really have to decide if that's what you want to do.
That's a good point.
So
he's a super smart dude. I've listened to several, and I've never met him, but I've listened to several interviews. In fact, probably a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter because I don't know when this is going to post, but he did an interview. He was on Eddie Trunk's show. Right. Eddie Trunk's podcast. And I was listening to it going, that dude is fucking smart. Yeah. Not to mention stupid good, but he's super smart. And I thought that was kind of cool. Sorry, I derailed
no, it's all right. And he had been there. So now I kind of felt this pressure, was that good enough, or can I change this and start, now the wheels are going. I'm overthinking it because this is what I've always wanted. I don't want to fuck this up. Right. And I took that to heart. So, in that sense, I probably could have relaxed a little more and maybe at least try to get in Alex's head to see where he was, maybe listen a little bit more to him. Right. If nothing else, to just calm me down and stop worrying about it so much. But it just never worked out that way.
Well, and I think that there's so many levels and so many different kinds of pressure when you're in a band. Right. And I'm coming from somebody that runs a band. I don't write music in the traditional sense, but I'm not even in an original band now, but I handle all the business for my band. That in itself it's a lot. It's a pain in the ass, and it's a lot of pressure. So listening to you describe what you were going through, on top of the business, then you're having to write everything, and then you're having the person here and now. Fuck that. I couldn't do it.
I mean, and honestly, there were things that I probably wrote the most just because I was just those Alex. There were a few things that Alex came up with. It's not that those guys weren't capable of writing, but let's be honest. I was doing a lot of the writing, right? And Alex was doing a lot of the show booking, and
everybody has their roles.
Everyone kind of has their roles.
Everybody has their roles. And people that get offended by that, fuck them.
Yeah, it's just that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, when I came into Heaven Hill, I helped rearrange some of their songs, and I helped in a way kind of rewrite them, but I didn't technically write shit. Right. I made what they had better with my ideas and a little bit because I had a little bit more music knowledge than they did on the theory side, but I didn't write anything. But I still got credit for it on the back end because
you helped.
It was my input,
right?
But I'm not a writer,
right?
And I'm okay with that. I know my role. So people that get offended by that, fuck them.
Yeah,
fuck them.
Fuck you and good day, sir. I said good day, sir.
So yeah, I mean it was unfortunate because I mean that band was great. But I don't think, going back on it, I don't think it would have had a lot of sustaining power. I really don't. Not without becoming something different. And that's one of the reasons why, like Jeff asked me, he's like, if they do KevFest every year, I wouldn't mind coming back as playing every year and playing. Sounds cool, but I really wouldn't want to do that because I don't really want to. There's not really many of those songs I ever really want to play again. Just because that's just not. Where I am right now. And the other thing is, I wouldn't want, people were like, are you guys getting back together? Are you guys getting back? I heard that all day that day. Are you guys getting back together?
Right.
And
guilty. I even asked you.
Yeah, I think you did ask me. And I think it's one of those things where I would be afraid to do that because 2017 Bryan and 1997 Bryan are different.
Absolutely.
And that means that band would have to change. It would be inevitable for that band to change.
Absolutely.
It would have to change. It would not be the same thing that it was.
No.
And I that might be kind of a disservice to the group.
I will not give the time, the place, or any other information because I don't want to start any fucking rumors. But at one point in time, there was a band I was a drummer for, obviously that's all I play, that did fairly well. Band broke up, tried to do a reunion, didn't tell a fucking soul what we were doing, kept it to ourselves. Maybe 5-6 years between, I'm trying to remember when we broke up and when we tried to do the reunion or whatever, and it was brutal. It sucked. We were not the same people that we were when we were, quote, at our height or whatever you want to call it. It just didn't work. And I think people, in some cases, I shouldn't say people, I should say musicians, in some cases, musicians try to capture that magic. You and I have been in this exact situation, which it's a long story. We're not going to get into it, but they try to capture that magic that was once there and it's just gone.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I think people get too caught up in their own bullshit and their own seeking of, I did this once, I can do it again.
Yeah. Or it's just nostalgia.
Yeah. But I think sometimes, I know there's a cliche saying, and I can't think of it. You're not going to recapture what you had. No, you're just not. The flip side to it is if you're in one of those bands that had 5 hits back in the 80s and people still want you to sell out a 3,000, 4,000 seat venue and you're still making money, then at that point, fuck the magic. It's about the paycheck.
It's about the paycheck.
So and I think people kind of get those two confused because if you never got to that big level, it's never going to be about the paycheck. You're living for the nostalgia.
Right. Exactly. So right.
I think people just get it confused and they get that shit a little twisted.
And it was, I had a ball doing KevFest. I
had a ball watching you doing KevFest.
I enjoyed playing with those guys again, especially for that cause. And it was, it was really special to me that
right.
Everyone was coming up to me going, you guys were the only band that he actually requested to be on. I thought that was awesome. So, I was really proud of that. But I think, I would say never, but it's not, there are no plans at this moment.
Right. No, and I get it. And that makes sense. Well, that's it, kids. That's been a pretty damn good show. I learned a lot about you.
It was a good show, yes.
Yeah, well, it was only good because of you.
I learned what type of stuff can go on in a woodshed when you're...
Toolshed or woodshed?
Did you say toolshed? Yeah.
I said toolshed, but if you want to take me to the woodshed, it's fine.
No, I will not do that.
Well, it's not like it would be hard to whip my ass. Just type something at me first.
I'll send you an invitation.
To Farmville?
Farmville.
Or Candy Crush.
What the hell is Farmville?
I don't know. I got nothing. It's you build a farm and you milk cows and...
Who does that?
It was some early fucking game that...
Does nobody play Connect 4 anymore?
I don't
Monopoly?
think so.
Risk?
No, I like Monopoly, but I always lose. You know why I lose? You're my friend, and you know this about me. I'm fucking tight with money. So every time I land on Boardwalk or Park Place, I don't buy it until it's too late.
See, I'm black, so I'm automatically in all the bad. Can't make any money off the. I think I landed on Schitt's Creek one time. Is that one of the spots?
I fucking love
They
it.
really should update that game. Whore Alley. Damn. Pay up. Damn, son.
Actually, I think they did update it. I think
they
there is a
really?
new version. There's an electronic version. We saw it the other, not the other day, but it doesn't matter when we saw it. But we saw
You
it.
can't make an electronic version.
No, it was physical, but it had some electronic shit in it. Like it had this automatic banker kind of thing where you could apparently make more money. Yeah, it was worth checking out. Anyway, thank you again for coming by. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. Some people I'm gonna have to edit them and just not even fucking release the show. I feel it. It's coming eventually. I don't know when. Probably one of my own shows, but that's irrelevant.
Cutting myself out.
I need to cut myself out. But seriously, thanks for coming by. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I absolutely adore you as a human being.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And as I say,
you too. Great guy. Sorry. Cut that out.
nope.
Horrible Christopher Walken.
It's not horrible. It's amazing. Don't make me have you do Tutuola.
Man, what you mean you used to be Pookie?
That's it. We're out.
We're out.
Y'all go out and do some shit. I can't even do a normal close because of this man in here.
Man, I'm talking about cop killing. I need to stop.
So until next time, I will talk at you soon.